Welcome to my humble little office. This is a day in the office on March 23rd, 2026 at approximately 3:16 p.m. PST. Now, well, I'm building an empire here and understand, I do not plan this one out. This is just me puttering around as I go. But if you've got questions, absolutely ask. Just have to figure out where the heck I was. What is this? Nope. Right over here. Should have done this first, but of course I got sidetracked again, which is why I tend to get started a little off. Okay, there we are. You go there, pop that. And back to here. And what do we do? Hey, Operation, how we doing? Glad you could join us. Heck, you got into the office better than I did. Right over here. Okay. And that pops that up. Yeah, get that out of the way. And we can pin that. And there we go. Now, I got started a little off kilter here. Yeah, I'm glad you enjoyed last night. That worked out rather than I like the way it turned out. And what I'm working on here is literally the same essential idea. So, whoops, get that out of my way before I have a problem. And where am I? Got all that there. Okay. Now I'm sort of here. So let us take a look at where we're standing. Now, like I said, the idea is get things cleared, get them out of the way, as it were. So what I'm doing, don't like dropping stuff on the ground. Okay, there we go. Pop that there, and we're good. Now let's see what we're looking at here. Again, the office here, and because I have to use my bed for the moment, and that'll be that way for a while anyway. What is this? Okay, we're actually making headway. Got my coffee. Now, this is that. Now, here's what I did. I had some old, I made t-shirts a while back, and I've still got a few left, so they're being given away for Christmas. Right. The reality is this. I've got stuff that absolutely, from my end, is it's stuff I had around for a while, but why turn it and put it into Value Village, which is it's a second-hand store, okay, or a thrift shop of any form, when I can turn around and hand them out for Christmas? They're already paid for. They're in perfect shape. And let's face it, everybody, whether people want to admit it or not, I do find that, we look at Christmas and go, well, I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't care. Do you like gifts? Do you like people being nice to you? I look at it and go, I've got stuff I no longer require, so I'm eliminating the stuff from my house. But why throw it in the garbage if I can avoid it? I don't need that anymore. So let's get this stuff sorted out. Now that's Christmas gifts. That's Value Village, aka that's stuff that I won't give away. Somebody else can sell, as it were. Now, where did right there? If I seem a bit scattered, it's only because, quite frankly, I am. That's the way my life goes a lot of the time. So, let's see what we can do here. Pop that there for a minute. Okay, this didn't save me a plug nickel. That fine little sound you hear there is my actually turning around and eliminating garbage. Now, like I said, this really boils down to an issue of going, okay, how much stuff do I have I don't actually require? Those can stay there. Wait a minute. Wow, a lot of pins in that bin. Let's clear it out as we go along as well. Those are completely empty. And this we take over here and hang up. That's like getting off on the back side of the bed, eh? So, I should have checked that. Should have done a lot of things. Get that out of my way for a minute. Oh, where am I here? Go to there. Didn't log in, so that's okay. I just desire to see what my count is right now. Watching it day by day doesn't do a lot of good. This much is simple. Okay, what is this? Okay. What? Okay, that is one. Okay, that's where we're standing. Now I know what we're up to. We're good. Bingo. Okay, so let's take a look at what we're sitting on here. This is stuff that just came out of my pack that I was working with, out of my satchel I carry with me. This is what's that? What? Okay, where are they? Don't think I saved. Nope, did not. Since it didn't save anything, here's the thing: when I'm looking at building an empire, the first rule is you gotta take a look and see what you're up to. This was 21st. Hopefully, I've got that open. Nope. That's gotta be open. It is. Okay, and we go Empire 2026. Open that. Okay, now, if you've got a savings account, okay, which is something you absolutely should have. My first, where's it for? That's also March 21st, so that's okay. Take this, we go 22nd, $7. Eliminate that, and we go 97 cents. Yep. There we are. Now we're good. You'll notice how quick that gets dealt with. Now we save the Excel sheet. And yeah, periodically, I've only got one screen, so I end up losing track of people pretty quick. Okay, where am I? Right there. Yeah, it was weird, their operation. Yeah, I was really happy to see the amount of interaction there and the amount of cross chatter for that matter. But I figure cross chatter simply means people are talking to each other. That is the purpose here. Because communication wise, if people are not talking to each other, you're not going to get on the same page. Yeah. Pop that in there. That's actually what goes with me when I get out so I can get things accomplished. So let me see. Did I get things organized? I did at one point. Let's see. That was. Let's get this back to where it was. Okay. Whoop. Yeah, that was the thing I looked at. Operation. I've come to the understanding that the numbers aren't as big of an issue as you might think. Okay. But what does matter is whether people are actually paying attention. And now obviously it doesn't make a lot of difference for me personally. You know, if people are following or making changes, this is great. That's the idea. But this is a question at this point of my making my own change. All of these things, I got all kinds of those. Let's see. Let's get these pens where they belong and I'll sort them out afterwards. That won't work. Those good glasses really create havoc while I'm trying to walk around. But let's see. Pen. Pen. Those are pencils, so we'll put them there. This is just a couple of drawers that have actual pens. Gotta deal with that. Because that's an annoyance. This is an odd one to have to deal with. But hey, it doesn't want to work quite the way I was thinking. What do we got here? Nope, not that. Now it'll work. See, what I'm doing over here is simply emptying a drawer. Find the bin left on there. Let those. This won't work. Just so I can actually pin them down. There's the stuff I don't require in there. One of the things about clearing out junk is you may end up with a whole pile of stuff that doesn't need to be there. Now, since this drawer is not cooperating, I'm going to have to do it the old-fashioned way, one step at a time. Keep what I require and get rid of the rest. But that's actually not a bad thing. So all I'm doing is taking all these little bits that don't belong in this drawer, so I can actually get the drawer organized. This is what's called a little bit on the tedious side, but hey, let's face it. Sometimes the tedious stuff is what gets to be the real problem. This is why I'm changing. I wonder why that's not working. Oh well, doesn't matter much. We bring these over here. These are just bits and pieces. But, whoops, somebody came in while I was over the other side of the room. Oh, there we go. There we go. Yeah, I'm glad to see that there, operation. The decluttering, you will find the more you do it, the faster your brain starts working. Unfortunately, I still get exhausted pretty freaking quick. Pardon my French. Okay, so that's all gotta sit there. Get that out of the way. Okay. Now, what have we got here? Okay, these go up front. And I'm just gonna put them on the edge of right by the door. So I take them when I go. Trying to figure out. I do not know what that is. Why that's not sorting itself out and coming out. It should. But first thing we look at is get things organized. Okay. Where are we? There we go. Now, what did I do here? Probably not a whole lot that made a lot of sense. But get this over on the desk. Whoops, let's get that cleared first. Okay. First and foremost, that is Christmas. I think I've got those stuck over here doing, huh? Keep doing that. That's not going to make me happy. Oh, that'll work. Take this box, which is the Christmas gift. Understand, I'm going to be this year. All of it, like these are just these here. Where are we? Can't see what I'm doing. There we are. These here are literally T-shirts that I made years ago, but because of the fact that they're brand spanking new, never been worn, barely been unfolded enough to write it to take any notes, they're going to be given away in the gift baskets at Christmas. Now, if I find out about somebody that has a birthday that I know those will fit, I'm down to one each of most of the zodiac signs. Where did I put my eyeballs? Not those ones either. Nope. Those. Okay, let's see where we are. One of the most difficult things I find is trying to get organized to start with. So this box here, that stuff I've got to go through. And it's got some interesting stuff in it, apparently. I'll have to piece it together. But that's all being disposed of to a secondhand store. The rest of this stuff, that's got to be gone too. So since that's secondhand, it can go there, and I'll just fill it as I go. Now, let's take this stuff and get it off my desk, off my table. This is stuff I'll have to get cleared before I go to bed. At least that's the hope. Now, what is this? Okay, now sometimes, like, this is an old card that I got, but the reality is there's writing inside it. It's got a date on it, but I do not recall, there's no real attachment to it. So, it becomes recyclable. Let's just get this stuff sorted around. Not so much get it sorted around, but get things cleared off of there. Well, that will be sorted. Now, pen, where'd it go? There it is. Blue, how you doing? Glad you could join us. Nice. The neat part now today, like I've been on 20 minutes. I end up working in the office, and this is literally how I'm going about building the empire. Now, here's the neat thing. I filed my income tax this year. I do every year. But it cost me, because I run a business, it cost me $400. Okay. Now, I ended up getting almost 8.5 back. So it actually worked out in my favor, which is the way it's supposed to work out. See, now, the table is now dealt with. And let's get the rest of it sorted. This stuff has to be gone through. That's now operational there. All these files here, I will go through quite readily. Let's see. Don't need the phone up and running really right now. So, the thing is, if you don't have your brain, your office clear, your brain is not likely to work as well as you might like. This is why I do it this way. And I will tell you, it really doesn't matter whether you're a pauper or a millionaire. The same thing applies. I have to deal with that. So that takes care of the monitor. Pull the desk out. And what did I just do with it? There it is. That takes care of the monitor and the computer. Now, the desk is the other thing here that I'm dealing with. So I take this stuff here. And yes, it looks like I'm just moving it. And for the moment, I am. Okay. But it means that I've got a clear desk so I can actually operate. Okay. That is recycling. So is that. So now I can go through this. Okay. We got to do something about that. Okie doke. How we doing? Hey, what are we here? Oh, yeah. This is the way my brain works, by the way. You'll notice it's in way too many directions at the same time. Okay, so I'm just clearing out. That took care of the desk because it's now operational. Shelf already was. So my office, aside from vacuuming the floor, is up and running properly. Now, this is where it gets a little screwy because now we get the little things out of the way. That is for operational stuff. Okay. Keep that so I can get at it. We got the desk is now clear. Okay. So, what are we here? There we go. And that got dealt with. I have a whole list that I still work with in the office. And I do strongly suggest that when you're doing things, break them down, pick the goals that you've got, and then break them down into component parts. I'm gonna go deal with that when I get done. Okay. Now, let's see here. That's all dealt with. Got that done. Now, paper clips I do find I require on a regular basis. So let's make sure that we can get this sorted out. And what we do, we take the glasses off because I can't see a dang thing with them. I'll just keep popping them back on periodically to take a look at what I'm working with. Now, let's see. Pull these out a bit at a time, put them in the other bin. Because the only thing I desire in this particular basket is going to be the paper clips. And that way, when I get them over to the drawer, I'm only working with them in this particular drawer. It's a question of, again, organizing things so you can find what you're working on. So, some of this stuff is just going to be tossed, but I have to figure out what's here first. So, let's see here. I pop that on. Oh, there we are. I think one of the biggest things, Blue, is that if you're at a loss for getting organized, taking anybody's input to start with and seeing how it works for you is a real functional key. So what I'm doing, these little organizers and what have you that are available, and you can get them from anywhere. Okay. I will be upgrading the organizational path that I'm using, but you start with what you've got. Okay, you start with what is available. So what I'm looking at here, as a matter of fact, I think I've got it bin. I'm going to have to step out of here because I'm pretty certain that I've got a container that a lot of these will fit in. And all I've got to do is check in the other room. Which, yes, this is why I call this a day in the office, because this is literally the way I'm getting the Empire running. Now, an Empire, from your standpoint, may only be your one room. Okay, that may be all it is. Okay, and if that's all it is, so be it. Hold that thought for half a second. I gotta go check and see if I've got something. But fortunately, in this case, I know where it is. Okay. Like I said, I knew where it was. Now, when you're dealing with little knickknacks, Frango, and I mean little things like, um, picture nails, which is what these are, little extra, little old pill bottles work like an absolute charm. One thing I do strongly recommend is make absolutely certain you label them clearly. Don't worry about coding it. This is something that I used to be taught, that people taught me all the time. Make it so you can find it, but nobody else can. I got news for you. I don't care if people find my thumbtacks. Okay. So I've got a container here for thumbtacks. I've got one here. I don't know what that one is. What is that one? Oh, that's what. Those are cable clamps. I had a right there. So, like I said, make sure that you don't have to open them all. Okay. Take an old pill bottle and use a felt pen. Something that won't wipe off. This way I can look at them and know I don't have to open it again. I don't have to turn around and go, well, what was I thinking with this? So that one I don't have to worry about at this point. Thumbtacks will fit there. This one is safety pins. And this little one is picture nails. I wonder if I've got a small container. Well, we'll have to take a look. For the moment, we don't have that. I got nothing to work with there, so that's okay. Let's see here. Put the glass back on, see what people are sitting. Okay, now, what I'm looking at here is I've got this container. I've got nothing to work with here per se, but I've got a clear desk that I can work with. So, little things like this can just be put aside because I haven't got a drawer set just yet. What I'm doing, before you can build anything, you've got to clear the ground to do it. Because if you don't, you're going to have to do it eventually anyway. This simply eliminates the problem of a backlog of information or a setup of, well, what am I supposed to do to make this work? I'll do it there temporarily and then you got to straighten it out again. Somehow that doesn't seem to work that well. See, now I've got these little picture hooks and I'm going to put those there because they're not nails. But that's a thumbtack. That can go in that bin. And you'll notice while I'm doing this, I'm actually, well, you can't necessarily see this, but what I'm actually doing is going, okay, I've got hooks like this. Like these are simply paper clips that were coated, but they're, what is that? I don't need that. Okay. Now, these are colored paper clips that I actually use for decorations for Christmas. But they're all over the place right now, mixed in with too many things. So what I'm doing is going, okay, let's get them all separated, see what I've got, and then I'll figure out how to pack it. There is an old saying that it's all too accurate. It goes, things will always look bad. They always look darkest before the dawn. And they really do. Okay. But the fact is, you can control how dark. So what I'm looking at is these little hooks that I'm working on. And slowly but surely, I'll get through them. Right here, it boils down to a simple issue. You know, when you take a look at it, okay, when you take a look at it, this is tedious work, and that's why I said it literally boils down to, if you've got a question, absolutely ask. Okay, the reality behind it is I've got to get this done, and this gives me a couple hours where I concentrate on what I'm building, and thereby can solve the problem. I say can solve the issue of not getting things accomplished. Which, by the way, procrastination is a great way to get nothing done. And I just decided that wasn't working for me anymore. What's that? Well, we got a garbage can out here. Yeah, I do. So let's get it. See, I'm a pack rat. Okay, or more to the point, I was a pack rat. And I kept all sorts of things that just were not adding up to any functional use. Now it's a question of, okay, no longer desire to keep the stuff that I may someday have a use for. So I'm just literally taking a look at it and going, okay, how do I eliminate it? This is a tedious task. And that's why I say, if you've got a question while I'm working away, absolutely ask. I will do my best to answer it. Okay. The reality behind it is that there is no way I can anticipate every question people are going to have. So I'm just eliminating the things I don't require. Like I said, these will get moved in. I've got a container for these. They're literally plastic covered paper clips to start with, but I use them for Christmas decorations, for hanging on trees, on garlands. Yes, I do celebrate Christmas, and this year is going to be a lot busier for me. You know, a lot more extensive on what I'm handing out. Because Christmas isn't, for me, it never was about what was under my tree. It was literally about how other people felt, about making them feel a little better. Because being an empath, and some of you will actually relate to this quite nicely, being an empath, I feel, I pull off a lot more energy. Well, that's useless. I pull off a lot more of a feeling from what I feel other people go through than what I get from opening things myself. Now, don't get me wrong, this does not mean I don't appreciate gifts. It's just I came to the conclusion that if I can bring a little happiness to somebody else, why not? Realistically, where is the harm for me, or for any of you? You know, it really boils down to this issue. If you can take your life, and in spite of what you're seeing in the world, if you can find a way to make somebody else's life a little better, a little brighter, maybe only for a moment, maybe it's just for that moment. But the reality is that one moment may be the only thing they require in order to actually avoid dropping into a severe depression. And rest assured, I'm talking from personal experience. Okay. I'm finally at a point where I'm looking at this going, yeah, I might be a little behind schedule. Okay. Which is why I say I'm aiming for 3 o'clock. But if I happen to be a few minutes late, so be it. This is the same thing. Where are we here? Yeah. Yeah. And that's just it, Blue. You're right. being a pack rat, and I mean, I chalk it up and I go, I've actually got a viable, explanation for it, if you will. That explanation being every member of my bloodline since 1902, so we're talking 100 years of pack ratitis. Okay, every bloodline member of my bloodline came up with the same problem. So yeah, I'm a firm believer. It's not genetic, but it certainly almost feels like it. Don't know what to do with that just yet. We'll figure it out. It almost feels like it's genetic, but what it boils down to is if you're a pack rat, I would lay odds very seriously that you were trained. If everybody you know is a pack rat, and here's the thing, a pack rat is simply somebody that hangs on to everything. No, it was funny, Blue. Blue was just saying no Scrooges allowed at Christmas time. If we didn't have Scrooges, we wouldn't know what generous people were. Okay, and that's just the reality behind it. So what I'm looking at is this. I don't mind people going, I don't want to celebrate Christmas. What I totally ignore is when people go, I say Merry Christmas, they go, I don't celebrate Christmas. I don't care. Okay, if somebody desires to take offense to my wishing them Merry Christmas, I figure have a happy and just be miserable if you'd like. I am not going to be bothering with that myself. People say they don't marry and they don't believe in Christmas. Well, let me tell you, I was talking to a very devout Jewish individual, and when I talked to them, I pointed out their behavior and the similarities between it and Christians that celebrate Christmas. I don't care if you call yourself Christian. I don't care if you call yourself a peanut butter sandwich in a backwood alley. Whatever you desire. But the thing you have to realize is you're entitled to your belief. You're entitled to your practices. I look at it going, I do it this way, and if I can make somebody feel a little better just by giving them a gift, is there any harm in it? Or just saying Merry Christmas? Now, here's the thing. I am not going into a Christmas route here. I'm babbling while I'm sorting out junk in a drawer that got way too tangled, in case you couldn't tell. So I'm just going through it going, what do I have to work with? And I do have a box for the hooks that I'm taking out here. Okay, so I can take these hooks out. I've got a box that they will go into when I get done this stream, because I've already got the bin. It's just I have to dig it out of a different room. So right now, it's just a question of unknotting a whole pile of odds and ends. And it's working. Like I'm already through the majority of the box. Yes, it's a royal pain in the neck, in case you couldn't tell. But I've got it sorted out here, so I'll be able to clear this desk in a hurry. Where are we here? Oh, there we go. Blue goes, I'd be afraid of material objects of being over 100 years old could be haunted. Well, they could be. But I'm going to show you something here, because it is a reasonable concern. Let me show you something, though. This little item, now it hasn't moved since. Why? I don't know. But this little toy, okay, this was a doll. This is only about 10 years old. Okay, but where are we here? Yeah, about 10 years ago, Okay, this little toy is just a finger puppet. Well, it's a hand puppet. Okay, it literally cannot stand on its own. This little toy was laying on my son's bedside table on the shelf beside his bed. It was laying this way. He was in bed, and I kid you not, this thing sat and did this. Nobody touched it. It sat up, turned, and looked at him. Okay, now he was a lot. Like I said, this is a decade ago. This particular toy is only 10 years old. And like I said, it was laying on his bed, and all of a sudden it does this. It was laying on the counter. All of a sudden it does this without any help. For some weird reason, he grabbed it and ran into my room and goes, "Get rid of this. I don't want it." Well, I didn't get rid of it. Okay. But they don't have to be a whole lot of time old. Okay. It sits up here over on the side. You can't see it from there, but that's okay. The point being worried that something is haunted is reasonable. It's just what I found is that saying the age of something doesn't dictate whether it may be haunted. Okay, so you just go through these one at a time. Those are just paper clips. I'm putting those over there. Because the paper clips have a drawer at this point. This one's already bent so far out of shape, we turn it into a decoration holder, and away we go. One of the things about being a pack rat is you do learn how to improvise. So I'm looking at this going, now, how am I going to operate with all this and get them sorted around? The nice part about it is once I get this done, it's tedious as all get out. This particular task is. But as you get the tedious thing out of the way, you never have to do it again if you stay on top of it. And this is why I said the process I'm using here eliminates the problem, but you have to stay on top. So I've got, there's another one there, it's toasted. Paper clips that are no longer usable as paper clips make a good decoration holder. For hanging on trees, for hanging on wires, just for hanging things up. Whether it's a Christmas decoration or just simply an ornament that you've got that has to be hung. Okay. These are things that you can work with. So I'm just eliminating the small problems. These little things, and this is something I've been putting off for a very long time. The neat part about it from your standpoint is the one benefit of being a pack rat is you've got a lot of odds and ends you can work with. The drawback is you can get hung up on so much clutter that it becomes problematic in and of itself. Now these neat things, like I've got picture hooks here, they'll end up in a container of their own. I just have to figure out what to do with it. But in the meantime, I'm working through all the rest of this. This is why you notice I cleared my desk first. Okay. By clearing my desk first, I had room to actually get things organized. And it is a major problem on occasion. There we go. See, I'm very old-fashioned, and here's the difference between a paper clip and a staple. Paper clips are easy to pull things off of. Okay, they really are. But I've got containers here. All right, I've already got containers elsewhere in my house that I will be able to put together. Okay, that I'll be able to utilize in a functional fashion. All of these little hooks that you see are absolutely useful for hanging. But I've also got paper clips that are set up properly, so I don't have to worry about them. These little wires that you get can be useful, but you get so many of them that all of a sudden you've got a problem. And that's why I'm going through this stuff right now. I'm going, okay, what's usable, what is not. And the nice part here, what have we got? Up there. The ones that are really out of shape, I'm just disposing of. Okay, but again, it boils down to figuring out what you see as necessary for you. There is a reason for having knickknacks around. There really is. And they say the fact of the matter is, if you've got a use for them, I'm not saying get rid of all the little odds and ends that you've got. What I'm saying is organize them so they're functional, so you know where they are and what you're working with. Okay, it's the disorganization that creates a problem. And these little bits and pieces are exactly why I will be able to actually build exactly what I'm aiming for. It just takes a little bit of organization is all. And again, where's picture nails? Right there. See, this is what I meant. I've got a container here for picture nails already. Safety pins? Safety pins. These little things I'm sorting out solve me a whole lot of hassles down the road. But the ones I'm pinning that I'm putting on the table here, it literally boils down to getting them dealt with so that they no longer are all buckled into one bit. And then I'll be able to operate with them. I'm just about done this bin, which is really nice in my eyes. Now that goes there. That goes there. Now these little things here, look, where are we? There. These little containers here, or clips, are for the shelves I've got around the house. If I'm putting in another shelf, that's what those fit for. Empty. So, I now have all the paper clips sorted out, and they're all in one container. Neat part about it here is I can take this container. Now, I could leave that there, but I think what I'm going to do is pop all those in. Now, these paper clips can go into the bin where they belong. And I'm having the paper clip in here. So that sits there quite nicely. Now, because of that, these bins are great for holding things while you're sorting them out. Now, where are we here? Oh, absolutely blue. The reason that I use paper clips with a lot of it is if I know I'm going to have to get into it. So staples are a pain in the neck to remove. But when I'm looking at stuff that I've got that I know has to stay together, okay, once I know what it is, I absolutely will prefer the idea of a staple over a paper clip. Okay, because then it keeps the thing contained all the way across. Now, again, if you're using little containers, once you're done what you were working on, i.e., in this case, I sorted the desk out, you take a look at it and you go, okay, container, put the lid on it. This is something so many people forget, and then they knock it over, and you've got bits and pieces all over the place. And what is it? I know what this is. It's a receipt book. And this goes in the drawer that I use over here. Yeah, I'm still working on the organizational side of stuff. But because of the fact I've got a plan in mind, it works out reasonably well. Now, these are zip ties. They have a purpose, although in all fairness, I'm not entirely certain how much use they are. Because they're for why these little zip ties are great where it comes to wires. Okay, I don't work with a lot of wires. Therefore, I think what I'm going to do is this. Do I have a small... Yes. I'm going to grab something from the hallway. Because I think it's right available. And again, I do this because this is how my brain works. Well, that didn't work as well as I would have liked. So that's okay. For the moment, because, the fact is, you do a small project, like sorting these things out. Since I sorted them out, I'm now going to take them and get them off of my desk. I've got a spot over here that I can utilize, right, because it's a transport thing. And I pop it in there. This way, I can keep them organized to start with. Now, and you remember I said I had a container for my Christmas hooks. I'm just going to take them all and put them in the same bin. This bin can now be put in a pocket that I'm shunting things through. Sometimes you've got to do a little bit of temporary setting. Fact is, the clearer things get, the easier it's going to be for you. Okay. Now, you may not realize this at this point, and that's okay. Now, this particular container here, I'm going to take all the picture hooks I got, put them all in the same bin. This way I can get them off of my desk. Because, again, it boils down to a case of clearing things. Now, these I can take over here and get them off my desk at the same time. Okay, that took care of that. This funny little thing here. Oh, and here's a neat thing. This is a booklet. Now, I happen to have this particular what's called a glucometer to check sugar levels. I can't use the dang thing. Okay, so with that in mind, I'll keep the glucometer just in case. But right now, because I got it for free, I'm just trying to figure out what to do with the book. But what I do know is these things, like this is a curtain hook. Okay, I have no functional use for it. So this box here, you're going to need a container for that. Those have to be sorted out. Okay, what do I do with that? What I'm doing is clearing my desk back off. Eyeballs? I'm putting, where the heck did I put them? I've got a good memory, it's just short. I keep telling myself it's short. I will tell you. The moment I start actually telling myself that my memory was getting better, I started remembering things much more readily. Where am I? 20 after 4. That's not bad. Okay. That pen can go back up there. Now, do I have a container? That's the pen I've been working on. These things have to go someplace. But I've got to make certain I put them where they are going to be of use. Okay. Safety pins, cable clamps, picture nails, and thumbtacks. These can all go over here. There is a place in the other room to put them. But because of the fact that I'm moving them out after I get done this screen, I put them right here so I remember. Now, what are all of these? I've got to get those sorted out, but that's okay. But that, there's two things. There's one thing here that goes with. Whoops. Clamps. I think I got a spot for up there. I know I've got a place for Allen keys, but they're in the other room, so they get set here. So I clear the shelf as soon as I'm done. But clamps go there. Those are books. So how many? These are simply clamps. Nope, not there. Those are pins. Labels. Other labels. Staples. What's that there? Oh, that's another junk drawer, as it was. What is that? I don't know, it's a battery or something. Okay, I'll have to look at those. But that's actually because that's a junk drawer. It works out well. Now, remember what I said, but sometimes you use a temporary spot. So this temporary spot gets the catch-all. That way, yeah, I'll have to move them again later. But this way I get my desk back. Kind of a necessary thing if you're aiming at getting organized. Very important that you contain the mess. Okay, because I'll tell you, if you don't contain your mess, it's going to get ahead of you. So this particular thing is just a catch-all junk drawer that I will have to go through. But that drawer is so much smaller than the one I have. Garbage can goes there. Okay, where are we sitting here? Now, that's my long viewers. These are my glasses for here. And where is that? What is that over there? There we go. Okay. Now, gotta check to make sure that works. But what to do with this? And let's see what's here. Yeah, the thing I look at with paper clips, if you know the stuff is temporary, but you're trying to contain it, and this really applies to me for gaming, or for that matter, for working with notes from races from any one of the books that I'm working on. And again, if you're looking for any of the books I've written, you go to the link at the top of the page there to buymeacoffee.com/innervoiceJ. That will get you to any of the books I've written, plus a way to get a hold of me if you're looking for consulting. Now, I've been a second consultant for literally, professionally, as in generating an income. I've been this way for 50, where are we here? For 40 years. I started 43 years. I started generating an income at 23 years old. I'm now 63. 23 to 63. I'll be 63 in a month. So it's 40 years 40 years that I've actually earned income. Not exactly a living for the last couple of years here, but I was making pretty good money when I worked for a psychic line. They knew how to market, I didn't. And in all fairness, I'm only just figuring it out. So now what I'm doing is going, okay, what have I got to work with? So this desk, my office desk, is now back to functional. But let's take a look at this, shall we? I have several, like literally, these are all pens and pencils. I don't need a full cup of pens and pencils. Okay. I've got a lot of these ones that can literally go back in the drawer. I only require one in the cup here, so it's readily available. The rest can go back where they belong. How about if we take this over there? We'll put my glasses down. I keep one cup that I keep the pens and pencils handy at. But you don't have to have them you don't have to have several dozen there. Okay. Now you get to pick how many you require. Okay, when I start looking at it and go, okay, I've got 6 or 7 in here. I've got a problem. Okay, I really do. There's too many pens and pencils and what have you that I've got over here, and I just don't require them all in this bin. So what I'm doing here is just put one in there, and take the rest of the pencils, and remove them. I've got drawers over here for my mechanical pencils. So put them all in the drawer. There's not much point in throwing mechanical pencils out. Okay, unless you use them all, if you know you're going to be using more. It's the same as with the pens. Okay, kind of important to have some handy. But you don't have to have several dozen. Now that one, I suspect, I will tell you, where it comes to pens, put them in point down. It keeps the ink at the end that's usable. Now, these are all pens, so I'm popping them up here. Oh, that's because I got rulers in that as well. So, I'm looking at this right now going, what, pencil, what do I got here? to keep a couple of pencils in just because I have a tendency of misplacing my giver. Blue pen, felt pen, blue pen, felt pen, another blue pen. Okay. Those are extra pens that can go back in that drawer. And a red pen. And a letter rope, and that's always nice. Of course, that one's kind of redundant, but I keep it anyway. Pencil, pencil, pen, 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 felt pen. Good. And of course, the scissors. Now, here's the neat thing. You saw the way my pencil bin was. These are just to have handy when I'm working on something. Okay, so now I don't have it over jammed. I can put it up here out of the way. It's up on the shelf. And then if I require something, I can grab hold of it. But I'm no longer overloaded with it. Now, that's my glasses I use for long viewing. Let's see what we got here. I am curious. I've got very few people in the room, and that was expected. Okay. The reality is, like I said, I am literally puttering around. If somebody's got a question, absolutely ask. What am I looking for here? Oh, I want to check and see. Let's see if we refresh. Yeah, I'm not expecting a whole lot of change here by any functional stretch. Okay, not in the way of extra people signing in while I'm on air. You know, because this is literally a way of my keeping organized, keeping focused so I can get things done. And I'll tell you, I now have my office was already organized. I filled the deck into the desktop. I just cleared it off again. Okay, so that becomes a critical issue. And we are at 4:30 right now. Okay, so what is next? That was very necessary for that. And let's see what we've got on the paper on the shelf behind me here. Now, this is where I start looking at paperwork. Again, you'll notice I've got writing on one side, okay, and it's blank on the other. Well, I don't believe in wasting stuff. But since I use scrap paper for, for to-do lists and what have you, they get tossed out afterwards. I don't see a problem with it. This, on the other hand, is a garbage one because it's written on both sides. Same as this one. See, I tear them in half because that way I know I don't have to look at them again. This is something I corrected after quite a number of mistakes. What is that? And some of these sheets are ages old that I've just been hanging on to. And that's why I'm able to glance at them and go, like this one, for instance, is a list of to-do things from December 21st of 2024. Might be an idea to get rid of it. And that's why I said I'm just looking at these going, I don't need them anymore. So they're getting tossed. And the to-do list does work like an absolute charm. I'm not expecting people to, am I on the right sheet? No. There we are. It boils down to this. Okay. I take a look at this amount of junk that I've got, the amount of garbage I've just been sitting on because I was, frankly, too lazy or too unfocused. My last 4 years was a nightmare. At this point, I am simply eliminating the paperwork. You know, and all of this is going. If it is what it looks like, and that's why I go through it one sheet at a time. If you've been a pack rat for any length of time, this can be extremely well. Realistically, it's rather liberating as you get rid of stuff. Somewhere in this, I may find a gem, but in the meantime, it's just a glance at it. The reality is this: while you're going through things, okay, if you have, if you're looking at boxes, except for keepsake boxes, things like, for instance, Christmas Day and holiday decorations of any form. You use them once a year. That's no problem. Keep hold of them. Okay, but if you're talking about boxes that have junk in them, take a look at them. And this also, by the way, includes data files on your computer. If you've got files that you don't get into, okay, if you don't get into them in a year, if they're not necessary files for records and what have you, it's time to start disposing of them. It's not the data files take up room, but why anchor yourself to the past? Okay, the amount of stuff I'm just going through and glancing at and going, why am I still holding on to this? Is amazing. First and foremost, understand my last 4 years was really a haze. Okay, so what I'm doing now is going, okay, how do I get rid of the last 4 years? I can't change the fact it happened, but I certainly don't need to hang on to it. So this is why I'm going through these and going, nope, don't have a use for them. I literally, in the last day, have gotten rid of probably, well, 2 years worth of to-do lists I never disposed of. And I wasn't going to go back through them, clearly. You know, so what I'm doing is going through these and going, don't need them. Each one of the, like this whole stack that I'm carrying up here, will go straight into the recycling bin as soon as I'm done. Like as soon as I shut the stream down, which will be in about 20 minutes. But you notice, one sheet at a time, it means I glance at it, make sure it's not something that I still have information that I require. And if I do, or if one side is open, so I can still use it as a sheet of paper for notes, I've got those available. But nobody, people go, oh, you should shred everything. Realistically, do you care if I've got a list here? Make the master bed, clear the office, write your journal. This is from way back in 2024 when I was reading the 6th book of my nature encyclopedia. Currently, I'm over halfway through the 8th book. Does it really matter that in 2024, like 2 years ago, I was reading the 6th book? Like I told you, I don't read in a hurry. Okay, so what I'm doing here is going, I don't have to have the stuff anymore. So it's going. And all of that information, all those notes are now ready to be dumped into the recycling bin as soon as I shut the stream down in about 20 minutes. You'll notice it does not take a lot of analysis to get this organized. What's this? Do this. That's always. Oh, yeah. No. There we go. This is coming along nicely. Boring as heck from your standpoint. This is the way a day in the office goes. But it keeps me focused on getting things done. And that was literally the reason for starting this. So it's coming apart quite nicely. It's amazing how much of this junk I actually have. See, once I'm done here, I got a few things up front I gotta do, not the least of which is prep stuff for freezing. But again, and I'll get that on I think that's already on my list to do. Where are we here? I'm just making sure I didn't miss something. I've got somebody's in the room, I just don't know who. And much as Storm, who is my primary moderator for Positive Perceptions. Okay. Much as he can track down who's sitting where, I just don't know how. And it's not really that important to me. Now, this is a to-do list from March 15th of 24. Okay. AKA, it literally is just over 2 years old. Not exactly necessary. Don't do that. So I am going through these sheets going, what is the purpose of hanging on to them? I've been doing this for the last few minutes here, probably 5 or 10 anyway. Just tearing through stuff I don't require. Uh-oh. Start of a poem. Yeah. Oh, this is just a thought that I had. Remember, when food is scarce and you're set to complain, to complain is tough. As my great grandfather used to say, in the Great Depression of 1929, it's tougher when there is none. And in all fairness, it was my grandfather, so that can go. But my grandfather lived through the Great Depression. And like he always said, be grateful for what little things you have, because if you've got nothing, it's even worse. I remember I was talking to a chap. I was talking to a chap that lived on the street. Right now, I've never lived on the street. Thankfully, I mean I've cut it close, but I've never actually ended up living on the street. And I'm sitting there talking to this guy, right? He's got a coffee, and he's sitting there talking to me, and we're babbling away. And I mean, it's just like anybody else. People on the street are not automatically creeps. Whoops! Somebody wrote something. Blue. Thanks for letting me know. The reality is, I do this because of the fact that it's this process that gets my world moving, and if that helps somebody, this is a bonus. This is why I do it, and I figure, in the greater scheme of things here, if I know what I'm doing to get my life ahead, if it'll work for me, you can bet your bottom dollar it'll work for other people. But it boils down to saying, Am I content with the way my life is? If the answer is yes, then don't change it. If the answer is no, then it might be an idea. Well, there's an older one. January 2024. Okay. And again, I went into a depression that was just absolutely stupid. Okay. I call it stupid now. At the time, remember, depression is not something that you just, oh, get over it. So many people think it is. You know, especially if they've never dealt with it before. The reality is, depression is extremely debilitating. Okay. And this is why it is so imperative. If you're fighting depression, find somebody, you know, find somebody that you can talk to. They don't have to get it. Sometimes just venting will work. Now, I've mentioned to people that I spent 20 years dealing with a psychiatrist. Okay. And the neat thing I found about it, you know, in all fairness, what I found inside in the first couple of weeks is we didn't actually discuss a whole lot, but it did take the time, it gave me the time to focus on me. Right. He did give me input on how to cope with things. You know, he absolutely did. And by doing that, by taking that couple hours, you know, that hour, hour or two a week to just focus on me, it meant I was able to get a handle on things. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. Okay, I'm literally talking. That's all we did. Okay, he was a hypnotherapist, but we found out that worked out cutely. I can be hypnotized. Unfortunately, I can hypnotize myself faster. And via hypnosis, I can literally accelerate my healing. By the way, anybody can do that. What is this? Oh, that's on a couple of articles I wrote. What's that? Weathering the storm. Gotta take a look at these sheets, but that's good. These are articles I started writing that belong on soft copy, as in take them off of the hard copy here and get them organized. So these are ones I'll have to go through afterwards because I'm not going to turn around and start looking through stuff to work on the computer just yet. Now what is that? Don't need that. Okay. Again, the neat part about this is these little notes, people can go through and they'll look at them and go, what does this mean? I don't put account numbers on the files that I'm destroying. You know, that I'm just making notes on. It does not make sense to, but because I don't have to worry about using the electricity to short them out. Now, I have no idea. See, here's a mistake. Okay, I made a note. I've got the guy's first name. I've got his phone number. I have no idea who he is. Now I don't have his phone number. What was it? Oh, a lottery from how many years ago? Oh, that's good. September to October of last year. That little lottery never got filled out, and it's over. I don't require it. You'll notice I've gone through a staggering amount of paperwork here. And now I can take a look at these and eliminate them. Blue. I would love to say you are, but let's scroll up to the top. Operation Shutdown was actually in first. But you are the only one in the house right now. And again, if you've got questions, especially if you're aiming at organizing, there's one thing I figured out how to do a long time ago was organize things. Of course, being a professional procrastinator, that can cause a problem. I will tell you though, Blue, your still being here does make it a little easier for me. Because I don't feel like I'm just talking to myself. Now, these are little projects I'm working on, but it's actually the stuff at the bottom of it that I'm looking for. So, let's get that out of the way, because those don't work well. Okay. This is my personal drawer. J, L, legal, copyright, state, and what is that? Oh, okay. I was looking for these things. Whoop. There we go. Oh, that's a manual. What's that thing? What is this for here? Oh, that was gaming. It goes up front. And this, I don't know what those are just yet. When is this for March 2025? I no longer require this, but it can be shredded. Whoop, shouldn't have done that. Literally, it should have shredded it. There we go. Now, by looking at these, L, M, these are the dividers I've been actually looking for the longest time. N, O, P, and what have we got? Well, that again is recycling, because I know it's something that no longer has a functional use. They're files that need to get tossed. This here is no paper. That, this stuff gets put under here with the other paper, so that's okay. And look, the file actually marked paper. I knew I had one of these. This is what I mean by I took this time, I set this day and this time, a day in the office up, so that I could actually get things done. Because I wasn't making the time for it. But I will tell you, Blue, your actually being here helps me immensely. Photos. Passport paper. PS. PlayStation. Projects of photos goes there. I haven't gone through all those yet. So, P. Q. What is that? Photos, projects. Q goes there. Okay. R. And again, these are ones that I have to go through, but this drawer here, I haven't actually finished going through. So, what I'm doing is just getting them off the counter, off the floor, so they're actually organized. They're too full. I have too many things in this particular drawer, in case you couldn't tell that. T, U, V, W. So go to this. Those all go there. And what is this? Put that there for a minute. Take this. Oh, look at that. Okay, but let's get that out of the way. Okay, and that is where that is. Like I said, I shut down at 5 so I can get other things done. But I really want to say thank you so very much. Oh, okay. Blue, I'm going to have to get back to you on that. Okay. But the folder system, I will explain that quite well. But I will concentrate on that. As a matter of fact, I'll do it this way. Because I've got a few things I've already got an appointment for. Where did I put my pen? There it is. What do we got? Tomorrow is the 24th. Tomorrow, I will literally lay out the entire way that the folder system works, both in the old world and the modern one. But, oops, I appreciate that, Blue. I'm checking out here. I will cover the whole layout of folders tomorrow when I come back. Okay, when I come back for a day in the office. But thanks so much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. And if there's other people listening in, thank you so much. I will be back tonight with Positive Perceptions. Okay, discussing. What am I discussing tonight? That's a good question. We are dealing with. What's that? I'm the evolution. That will be it. Positive. There we are. Tonight we're going to be looking at financial analysis. Okay, that's at 8 p.m. Pacific. Okay, but until then, I want to say thanks so much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. Look forward to seeing you again in the very near future. Until then, do take care of yourselves and each other. And for pity's sakes, stay positive.